In this tutorial, we're going to sequence our still images for our animation, cut them, and then change the speed for the 6-second accommodation that we need. So I've taken all my clips and I've collectively selected them in my project tab and then dragged them into my comp window, and now they're one above the other. Now they're 5 seconds in length, and I know that's much too long. So first I'm going to cut my images inside the timeline to something much shorter so I can manage this before I collectively change the speed of the composition to 6 seconds. So I'm going to select the top image, and then I'm going to drag down to the bottom of the timeline and shift select the very last one. And first that'll let me edit them all at that point, and then it'll let me sequence my stairway from the upper left to the lower right. Once I've got them all selected, I'm going to choose the time frame I want. I'm going to put in a half of a second. So I'm going to change the frames here to 4, which is a half second. And my playback head is now at a half of a second. I'm going to hold down the Option key. Now I'm going to hit the close bracket near the letter P. And it cuts all of my clips to that half second or 4 frame interval. Now I'm going to line up my stairway so my frames are now consecutive instead of one on top of the other. I'm going to go to Animation, and I'm going to go to Keyframe Assistant, and I'm going to click on Sequence Layers, and I'm not going to do anything else in here other than click OK. And now I can see that my images have been lined up one after the other. Now I know that this is almost a minute long. As I drag past the 50-second marker, it's just under a minute, and we have to have this clip running at 6 seconds. So I'm locating the very last clip in my timeline, and I'm going to select just it. And if I hit O on the keyboard, it puts it at the end of the very last frame. So now if I was to go and look at my sequence, I can see I'm at the end of the movie. Now I want my render bar to be at that point as well. The render bar is defined by that little gray bar that has a vertical blue rectangle on either end. And I can shift and snap to the playback head if I want now. Or if I chose to, I could hit N on the keyboard, and it would also end the work area right where the playback head is located. Now I have to change the speed of this to 6 seconds, and I've got a minute of time. So I'm going to select all the clips again. I'll start with the first, then I'll shift select the last. I'm leaving my playback head where it is. I'm now going to go to Layer, Pre-compose Layer, and I'm going to make sure that Move All Attributes into the new composition is checked off. And I'll call this Egret Sequence, so whatever name suits your purposes, and I'm going to click OK. Now everything has been tucked nicely into that one brown layer, which allows me to manage my timeline better, and will also allow me to collectively change the speed of all of those 100 some odd frames. Now I've left my playback head here because I know that's where the movie will end. So I'm going to make sure the brown layer is selected by clicking on it. Once again, I'll hold the Option key and hit the close bracket to edit that. So now I know when my sequence ends with those images embedded in it. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to choose Time Stretch. And then I'm going to punch in the new duration. You can see there's my 51 plus seconds. I'll click and drag through, and I'll put in 600, and I'll click OK. So now it's been edited down to 6 seconds. I'm going to go back to the beginning of my timeline, and if my clip is selected, I can hold my Shift key and drag my playback head to there. And if my clip is selected, I can now hit N on the keyboard, and now my render bar has defined that 6-second sequence. So now if I was to tap my space bar, there's my animation. I'm going to save, And then in the next tutorial, we're going to export this out using the media encoder.